All right, last lesson in Unit 1. 1.7 is simplifying fractional exponents. Okay, so I try to sort it into the different types. Starts out kind of easier and gets harder with some variables, but they're not too bad. But they are wanting us to simplify into a radical. Okay, so on number 1, we got 64 to the 5th power raised to the 1/2 power. Your base in this problem is the 64, just like if this were x. So our rule here, it's a power rule. So we would take 5 times a half, multiply straight across, you get 5 halves. And our base is still 64. And then I would rewrite that as a radical. So remember, this is our index of a radical. It would be a 2, which is a square root of 64 to the 5th power. What's going to probably be easiest, you could do it on your calculator, but also what's probably easiest is doing the radical part first. So what is the square root of 64? That would be 8, and then raise that to the 5th power. So you're probably going to want your calculator. 8 to the 5th power. I don't know why that looks so blurry. There we go. A very big number. Right over here. 32,768. Okay, but what you could have done instead is do square root of 64 to the 5th power. So where this is going to do 64 to the 5th power first. Ooh, and then it's square rooting that number. Several different ways to go about it, but you get the same answer. Okay, pause and try number 2. If I do my power rule here, I get 32 to the 2/5 power, which is the 5th root of 32 squared. I know what the 5th root of 32 is, but I don't know that you are, so I'm going to teach you how to do this on a calculator. You have to put your index of your radical in first. So I'm going to put 5, and then I'm going to hit math, which is right here under the green alpha button. And I'm going to option 5, where it has a little x in front. So that got me a 5th root of 32. I'm going to put in squared 4. And I'll tell you why, because the 5th root of 32 is actually 2. 2 times itself 5 times is 32. And then 2 squared makes 4. So those came out nice and pretty. All right, number 3. We would rewrite it as a radical. That is the cube root of 27 squared. So you can either do the cube root of 27 first, you can do 27 squared first, you can put it on your calculator all at once. You should know what the cube root of 27 is. That is 3. And so that squared, 3 squared is 9. But if you did it on your calculator, if you go to math, option number 4 gives you a cube root of 27 squared is 9. Okay, why don't you pause and try number 4. All right, so this would be the 4th root of 81 to the 5th power. Again, I know what the 4th root of 81 is, but you may not, so remember you hit the index is 4, math, option 5, then 81 to the 5th power, which is 243. Okay, number 5. Your base is 6. Do your power rule, that would be 3/5, which is really the 5th root of 6 cubed. Let's try it. Put your 5. If it's a decimal, that means it doesn't reduce. So you're just going to leave it like this. These are actually almost easier than the first ones. Number 6. It would be the cube root of 14 squared. Yeah, because there's not going to be a cube root of 14. So that's going to stay. Number 7 is almost even easier. That's a square root of 35. We know 35 cannot be square rooted. And number 8 is the 4th root of 10 cubed. Let's try it real quick. No. So that's your answer on that one. So there's type 1. Type 2, you're going to simplify each expression to its simplest form using only positive exponents. So now remember, a number in front that does not have an exponent or a power other than to the first power. So it's 16 times x to the negative 20th times y to the 8th, all raised to the 1/4 power. So you can do your power rule and say, okay, well, this 16 is going to be to the 1/4 power. This x, we need to multiply negative 20 times a fourth. What's a fourth of negative 20 would be negative 20 divided by 4 is negative 5. And then 8 times a fourth of 8, or 8 divided by 4 is 2. Anything with negative powers needs to go somewhere else. So we've got 16 to the 1/4, or that's the 4th root of 16 times a y squared over x to the positive 5th. 4th root of 16, you should have memorized, that's 2. So it's 2y squared over x to the 5th. All right, number 11. I'll let you pause and try it. That would be 64 to the 1/2 power. That would be half of negative 10. That would be half of negative 16. Oops. Move and move. I already know that this is really the square root of 64. That's 8. And that's going to stay on top over x to the 5th, y to the 8th. Almost like these better than the top ones. Okay, number 12. This is 8 to the 1/3 power. This is a third of 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. This is negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Simplify each expression to its simplest form using only positive exponents. So I guess we'll leave it as an exponent. 8 to the 1/3, x to the 8th over y cubed. Okay, go ahead. Let's look at 13. 13 has a negative power here. Be aware of that. We got 32 to the negative 1/5 power. Negative a fifth of 15, or 15 divided by 5, would be negative 1/3. And then y to the positive 30 divided by 5 would be 6. Okay, so I'm going to move and move. And so y to the 6th stays. 32 to the 1/5 power, x to the 1/3 power. Okay, that's really the 5th root of 32. Is that 2? Right, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. Yeah, that's 2. So it's y to the 6th all over 2, x to the 1/3. And our last page. Since these are so similar, I'm going to pause and let you try 14 and 15. Okay, I got on number 14, x to the 4th, y to the 12th over 4, because I gave everything the negative 2/3 power. Only thing that needed to move was the 8 to the negative 2/3 power, which became positive. Cube root of 8 is a 2. 2 squared is 4. You can check it on your calculator. 15, I got everything to be negative when I did the power rule. Everything went to the bottom. 5th root of 32 squared. 5th root of 32 is 2. 2 squared is 4 again. So that's what I got. All right, in type 3, same thing. You're just simplifying into a radical. Okay, so I would need to have 64 to the 1/6 power. And then x to the 3/6 power. So I would put 64 to the 1/6 power, or the 6th root of 64, I get 2. Then I'm going to simplify this. 3/6 is the same as 1/2. Anything to the 1/2 is a square root. So it'd be 2 square root of x. All right, number 17. This whole thing is under a 5th root. Let's see if there's a 5th root. Or 3,125 is a perfect 5th root. Yep. That is 5. But I still have a 5th root of x that I can't simplify. Okay, number 18 has parentheses, so I need 4 to the 5/2 power. And an x to the 2's are going to simplify, so x to the 5th. This would be the square root of 4 to the 5th power. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 to the 5th power. And we have that in that 32. X to the 5th. All right, go ahead and pause and try number 19. This one's pretty easy. The 81 has nothing happening to it. That is the 4th root of x cubed. And that's it. 20 might be even easier. 4 has nothing happening to it. And then that would be the square root of x. And then 21, 15,625 has nothing happening to it. And then that would be the 6th root of x to the 5th.